So this is a technique that I personally love, and it's where you're doing multiple layers of either a topper or in this case a stamped image, and then you're slightly altering the image one through to seeing the other. So in this case we've got the stamped image where we've done it in black and white on the front, but then use the dies to create an aperture to then see inside where we've coloured them inside. So to do this card, what you're going to need to do first of all is use the stamps in your kit. So we've got a huge selection of beautiful stamps in this kit, and what I'm going to do is I've got the large stamp here, but then also I've taken the little side stamp off there too. So I'm just going to take that little side stamp, just move that off to the side a little bit, and then pop the other stamp on here. Okay, so you're going to create your stamped kind of image on here. Now I'm working on a rocker block. The benefit of that is, you see the front of a rocker block, it's slightly curved, so you've got that slight curvature, which means instead of pressing flat down and touching all over, you're going to start on the heel and rock from heel to toe, which means you're only ever applying pressure over a tiny portion of the stamp at once. It's the same, a lot of people like to use stamping platforms, that would work equally well, or if you've just got an acrylic block at home, you could use an acrylic block, that's perfectly fine, and just make sure that you transfer the whole image at once, and we do etch these nice and deep, so that shouldn't be a problem for you. Now what you need to do is cut 2 layers of card, and if you see I've cut them, so you're going to do 2 layers, and you need to stamp in exactly the same place on each of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I've got a baseboard here, I'm going to put this into the one of the corners, so the 10 by 10 here. I know I'm going to want to stamp down in this corner here, so if I'm going to go here, I know I'm starting right there, we go, on the 9" and the 3". So I'm going to start on the 9" and the 3" edge exactly, stamp into that corner, and then when you take your second piece, you know I'm going to place that exactly over the top, and I'm going to use that 9" and 3" marker point to make sure I stamp into exactly the same place over the top. So they must be exact mirror images of each other over top of each other. Okay, really important. So if you find that easier with the stamping platform, you could easily do it with the stamping platform. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to colour in the base one. Now I've actually done mine and coloured it in, and you see here, so I've done mine and coloured in. Now I know that I'm going to cut a hole, so if you see I'm going to use this die to die cut the hole, so I need to make sure that I've only coloured in essentially what's inside there. I don't need to worry about the little pieces down here. Now because of this one I've coloured in, I need to use the one that I'd stamped when I was preparing this demonstration, so that I've got the 2 pieces exactly lined up over top of each other. I'm going to just look at that and make sure exactly where I want to do my die cut, so I'm getting part of the leaf, all of this flower part of my little bud up here, so I can come right up all the way over there, and that is the piece that I'm going to die cut out and leave the centre. So we just pop that in place. Now it's not a complex die shape, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut into my base. I'm going to try just with the clear. I'm not going to add my magnetic because it's not a thick cardstock and it's not a complicated die. So all we need to do is see if there's enough pressure without adding the magnetic to cut through that layer of cardstock. If there isn't, we can always add the magnetic and go through another time. So let's have a look. No, it wasn't quite enough pressure to go all the way through. So now I know that I do need to be adding my magnetic in just to get enough pressure. And this is the way you should always do it. If in doubt, try without, and then you can always go back and add it in another time. So I'll send that through another time, this time with that little bit of extra pressure. And you can see that's cutting, you can hear it's cutting through there now. And actually, I mean, that's a beautiful, I'm just be very careful here. That would be lovely to use on another card because it's got that lovely stitched edge. So by the time I did a little bit of colouring, a bit like the first card that we did, we could use that in a separate card. So don't waste any of these pieces. Make sure you keep them all. So you can see when I line them up now, that's going to line up perfectly over the top there. Okay, so we're ready to put the whole card together. So what I've done is I've taken a base card out of the kit, and I've got just a matte layer of black, and then I'm going to layer this onto the front. And because we're doing flat layering, I'm going to use my tape pen. So I find this easier. I'm fairly confident at getting things down where I want them to be the first time. So I find it easier to do that with a tape pen as opposed to with wet glue, where I've got the manoeuvrability time. And then my top layer of card needs to be raised up that little bit. So that needs to sit over the top so that we've got a little bit of dimension. So when we're working with dimension, you're going to either use some foam pads, and foam pads would give you dimension over the whole surface, or if you're not working with foam pads, you can always use what I'm using here, which is the 3D glue gel. And the 3D glue gel just gives you a little bit of time to maneuver it all into place. You just need to make sure you put plenty on there. So that gives me a little bit of time to pop that into place over the top, and you can see it gives it that little bit of a lift going on there. And then to finish it off, I've got a few little finishing touches here. So I've just stamped with one of the sentiments, and I'm going to sit that over the edge. My happiness sentiment. And these are all just coming in with your kit. And then I've also stamped and die cut a couple of those butterflies. And again, I'm going to use the 3D glue gel to pop the butterflies on. Because once this 3D glue gel, it's like a silicone. So it has the same properties as a silicone gel would have, but you don't have any of that nasty smell. So the 3D glue gel is going to hold that in place. So that is the card where we've created our lovely aperture. And then you see all I've done to finish off the final one, which I do think gives it a little bit of a lift, is actually use a little fine liner pen. So just one of our Spectrum heart liners would be perfect to just dot and dab around the edge, just to give it another kind of layer on there again. But it's a lovely technique, whether you do it with stamps, whether you do it with toppers, to have something where you've got a die cut piece cut out and layered on the front. Give it a go.